Hello everyone, my name's Rayette Martin, and I am going to cover some information about public outreach for the Valley of Fire Field School. There's a photo of me because I'm not being video recorded for this, but I work with Nevadans for Cultural Preservation. I'm the executive director, and we're a nonprofit, and our mission is preservation through education. And we really believe that we cannot expect people to care for things they know nothing about, follow laws they've never heard of, or protect things they cannot identify. And I have a background in public outreach since before 2013, but that's when the nonprofit started. So I wanted to share a little bit of information with you all to help you engage with the public while you're out at the field school. So whenever we have an opportunity to engage with the public, we have to ask ourselves about why did this opportunity come up? So our opportunity is the field school, and we want to know why. Then we need to have some goals and then match those up with our techniques. And I'm going to go over each one of these as we go through. So why are we doing this? So students from both CSN and UNLV, they need to learn how to do archaeological field work. I mean, that's the purpose of a field school. But we're also recording the petroglyphs and any other evidence of human activity in the area. And why we're doing this at Lattle Rock is because it's a safe and easy location for the students, but also because the resources are at risk of deterioration from things like erosion, vegetation, and visitor impacts make up a large percentage of the issues. For example, in this photo, simple things like people doing tic-tac-toe on the rocks adds up over time and causes significant damage. And why do we want to record these things? Really, we're trying to capture the context. We want to record everything in its current place to tell the whole story of how people may have used the area. So this site was recorded in the past, not in its entirety. So we're going to come back and try and get all those puzzle pieces that we can to fill in that story. And then once we generate those records, so all this data that you're going to collect is going to go into the State Historic Preservation Office's record keeping software, right? So it'll be there for the future to access, but also these reports and this information is going to allow the Nevada Site Stewardship Program to go ahead and assign volunteers to monitor the sites. So when there is new damage or they see some issues, they can help the state parks with making sure that that area is well taken care of. So when you get started, when you're doing public outreach, you have to know your audience and you got to meet them where they're at. So if it's a third grade classroom, you're going to talk to them differently than what we're going to do when we're out at Valley of Fire. So we want to make sure that we keep the information that we share with them relevant and to have a clear action and make it easy for them to accomplish. And it's always important to talk about being partners with the community or partners with people that you talk to, because when you shake your finger at people, it just makes them really angry and not even want to engage in preservation, but also they will shut down automatically. So we never want to shake our fingers at people. And that's because archaeology isn't just for archaeologists. So we study the history of humankind. So we really want to have fun and enjoy that and share that with other people. So there is actually a method to the madness of public outreach. It's not just, oh, hi, shake a hand. Yeah, it's cool that we're doing this. There are steps, and we're going to go through each one of these steps in a different slide, but I just wanted to show you that there's really 5 different steps that we go through. And the number one thing that's going to happen is we don't have to go and knock on a classroom door to talk to people. The people that come and visit at Lattle Rock while you're working, they're already going to be interested. They're going to be like, what are they doing? Why is that group of people over there? Why do they have nets on top of the rock art? What's going on? And everybody's going to have a vest to distinguish themselves. And so they're going to come and ask you questions. And the reason we talked about why are we doing this field school, is really why we're doing public outreach as well. So we're doing this field school. The audience is like, oh, why are you doing that? And you can explain, like, you can see all the scratching on the petroglyphs. If you go up to the top of the stairs, there's like plexiglass, but you can see that people have scratched behind that on the petroglyphs. And then also it's quite visible that there's spalling and other weathering of the petroglyphs in the area. So that's really easy for them to see. So they will have some kind of concern about the site. And then we can talk about if you're out doing the survey and you're looking for like thermal features, that's something you could probably share with the public, because those don't walk off. Nobody's going to take those home with them. But you can explain how the sand movement, vegetation growth, people walking off trails and removing things, those are all threats to the recording of things in context. So we want to say, oh, we're here because this area has a lot of visitation. It's easy for us to get to, and it has some issues. One of them is erosion and natural processes that are going on. And then the other one is the public. So we want to make sure that we capture everything we can in place right now. And so the next step is for the audience, the people you're talking to be able to visualize, oh, hey, it would be great if we could maintain these things. Hey, it would be great if the archaeological record is complete. And the best way for them to visualize that while we're at the field school is to go ahead and talk to them about what's at the visitor center, if they've been there or not, because there's a great display of excavations that were done in the 70s. And there were 3 different sites that they excavated. And you can even tell them that there is like a setup of what you would see when you're doing the dig, as well as the artifacts and things laid out with explanations. So, this goes from about 4,000 years ago to 1400 AD. But it also on display has the information about when the Spanish came through, the trappers, traders, and that kind of thing. So if they're interested in more modern history, they have that there as well. Now, one of the main things you want to do is make sure that the audience can perform an action. So, hey, we're here. We are recording this area because it's important. We want to preserve this into the future. And then we're going to ask them to help us with that. And we're going to ask them to, hey, when you're out, if you stay on designated trails, that helps us make sure that everything stays in context. Or, hey, report anytime you see somebody vandalizing or removing an object from an archaeological site, because that, again, will help us keep that context. There's always a danger when working with the public or discussing archaeology with the public. So it's really important to have a clear goal, because sometimes we can do activities like a mock dig, but if we don't have a clear message, people will walk away saying, yeah, it's really fun to dig in a sandbox. It would be really fun to excavate stuff. I wonder if when I go somewhere else, if I can excavate it. It's fun and okay to dig for artifacts. It's, and then if we have like rock painting to show how pictographs and other things are made, we don't want them to think it's a great idea to start adding their markings to rocks. So we really want to focus on the things in green here, context, the scientific method. We're not really into fully excavating sites anymore as a discipline. We want to do the most minimal work in an area possible to get information, and that it's great to appreciate the skills required to make artifacts, but not to take them. And it's important to be careful not to share too much. When you're in the field school, you're going to be finding areas that the public doesn't normally go to that may have something of significance. And so we don't really want to share that information. We want to guide them to the staircase or anything that is set up for visitation. In addition to that, the Archaeological Resources Protection Act protects site location information for a reason. So I don't know if you've gone over that yet, but we really have to watch sharing any kind of detailed site information. when we're doing public outreach, presenting at conferences, the best way to engage with folks about locations and stuff is have them tell you where things are located. If they're like, oh, have you ever seen this thing? Oh, where was that? Can you tell me where you were? What did you see? And then talk about it with them. That way you're not sharing the location. And it's great to provide generalized information because that's more than what people are used to actually getting. So you can say, oh yeah, there's a number of rock writing sites within, here I have example of Gold Butte National Monument, but you could talk about at Valley of Fire and maybe even guide them over to Mouse's Tank or another hike that you know of in the area that's set up for visitation. But you can also be real general, like, oh yeah, pine nuts were gathered in the sheep range north of Las Vegas, as opposed to, hey, if you go up this road, there's this place, and that kind of thing. Just give the public a big landscape idea of where things are located. And you have to understand it's okay to tell people no. If they ask you a question and you can't share that information, you say, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to share that information or disclose that information. And you can say, in order to protect our cultural resources, or because it violates cultural preservation laws. Anything you can do to kind of explain to them why we don't tell people the location. And one of the things I often talk about is land managers aren't prepared to have a lot of people start visiting these other areas. So if I tell you where this is located, what can happen is it can get damaged before land managers have a time to get out there and have a plan to protect it from too much visitation. And so that's why we have places like at Little Rock with the stairs, and we have places like Mouse's Tank so that they can handle the traffic of people coming through. So this is just a real quick overview of public outreach that you can have while you're out at Laddle. I know that there's supposed to be a picnic table that's set up with people doing rock writing, recording, and that may be the place where you engage the most with individuals that may have some questions. But have fun. It's going to be a great time, and I appreciate being able to share this information with you all, and I hope it's helpful while you're standing there and people are asking you questions.